Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at an animated film from 2013. That movie is Cheech Chong's animated movie. Now, before I get into this, I would like to say I have seen a couple of Cheech Chong films. Granted, only one of them was genuinely good, that one being the ever-classic Cheech Chong's Up in Smoke. But at least out of the other two, you know, I also saw Nice Dreams, which was okay, and Things Are Tough All Over. Well, less said about Things Are Tough All Over, the better. I would like to say that I know what the fuck I'm getting into on this in terms of a plot, but I don't. Which is weird, because I have actively pursued to figure out what the fuck the plot is to this before I even start watching it. I tried looking on Wikipedia, and they say that the plot is unknown, which means nobody who edits for Wikipedia has been bothered to watch this yet. And the IMDb, instead of giving us a plot, basically just copied and pasted what's written on the back, which doesn't tell you shit. I have no idea if this thing is going to be good. The only thing I know is that it's going to feature segments from Cheech Chong's Grammy-winning albums. Which, okay, that's sort of cool because, hell, you know, Cheech and Chong are naturally funny guys. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to hold up a film for almost 90 minutes. But the only way I'm going to find out, the only way I'm going to know if this thing is even half good, is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Cheech Chong's animated movie. Wow. You guys have no earthly clue how absolutely unfunny this movie has been up to, you know, this point. Just funny. Because this thing seems to be based entirely off of like old fucking sketches that Cheech and Chong put into their albums. You'd think they'd be at least kind of funny there, but no, guys, I have yet to smile since this fucking thing started. That's really friggin' sad, guys. How the hell is this supposed to be funny? How the hell is a Jewish kid with a massive nose jamming everything he can possibly find up his massive nose funny? Swear to God, guys, that actually is the joke for this segment. It fucking sucks, guys. It really does. You know, I'm really surprised, guys. I really thought at least some of this would make me smile, because I know that Cheech and Chong are good for funny. Oh, now we've got a guy in the bathroom with shit dripping out of his ass. No, I'm not joking. I really wish I fucking was. That is the crap that passes for comedy in this thing, and it's really beginning to depress me. I was genuinely expecting better from this, guys. Okay, I'm really happy that they finally ended that fucking sketch, because that sketch was about 5 minutes. And it was probably the worst sketch out of this entire thing so far. Considering the fact that there hasn't been a single funny one yet, that is saying a lot. But damn it, I'm happy that they're finally past it. Well, guys, that was Cheech and Chong's animated movie, and I kind of wish I was dead. I'm gonna shut that garbage off. Okay. Good God. Well, let's start with the writing. As I stated at the start of this, I was hoping to find a plot, hoping to find some sort of, some kind of like a framing narrative or something to go with all this, because I kind of figured, based on what I was reading on, especially on Wikipedia, that Cheech and Chong's animated movie here was just going to be a bunch of Cheech and Chong's bits from all of their various albums, just essentially animated and then strung together. But there actually is a framing narrative here, and my God, It's terrible. The closest thing this has to a framing narrative is one of the first characters we meet is a muscle-bound Canadian pubic flea. No, not kidding. Fucking pubic flea. Who is absolutely enticed by the pot smell coming off of Tommy Chong, and the fucking flea spends the entire movie trying to suck Chong's blood. Now, okay, yeah, that actually does almost sound like a plot, but the fact is, it really is just an excuse to go and shoehorn this goddamn flea into every single fucking sketch, which is taking something which has already failed to be funny and makes it even worse. Now, I will say that this thing is taking some of the funniest bits that Cheech and Chong have ever done. The problem, and this is a big fucking problem, is that they are over-scripting these bits. Allow me to explain. Because if you listen to the Cheech and Chong albums, or if you see them live, everything flows naturally, including things where they have multiple characters and they're voiced by both Cheech and Chong, and they're both asked to show some level of vocal range. Everything sort of flows very, very, very naturally, and it's incredibly funny. But here, because they had to animate it, everything does not flow very well. In fact, everything is almost every bit here is done incredibly, robotic, I think is the best way to put it. There really is no natural flow in any of these sketches, and it absolutely destroys them. Guys, the thing about Cheech and Chong is that, as I stated, is that the humor has to flow, and the dialogue has to sound natural. And it really almost sounds, at times, as if Cheech and Chong were fucking recorded on different days, which absolutely destroys the flow of everything here. Because you need both of them in there in order to play off of each other and make the segments funnier. That is the big comedy secret with Cheech and Chong, is that the two of them work off each other so well. And because everything here was just so strictly scripted in order to match exactly what was on the CDs, instead of giving them a chance, the albums, instead of giving them a chance to, let things sort of flow naturally, everything suffers because of it. So we have legendary Cheech and Chong segments such as Drive-In and Dave, and they are absolutely destroyed because there is no flow to them. It is just trying so desperately hard to match what was on the album, instead of allowing them to just kind of free form it as if they were on stage, which would have helped every one of these segments out immensely. Now, that is one issue. I will say that because I haven't had a chance to listen to a whole lot of Cheech and Chong's albums, I didn't know what kind of vocal range Cheech had. Seriously, I had no idea. I really thought that Cheech only had the one fucking voice, because that's all you ever hear him do anywhere. Except when he's working with this stuff. My God, he has range, because Cheech is asked to play every single female character, well, all three of them, I think, that pop up in this movie, and he plays most of the characters, and Tommy Chong is expected to only really voice about a third of them, because Tommy Chong's range is exactly 3 voices. I understand that people who are diehard fans of Cheech and Chong would probably know this by now, but because I only know them from a couple of their more famous bits, and 3 of their movies, I didn't have a lot of knowledge of their, vocal range in the case of Cheech, and the lack thereof with, Chong. Now, I totally understand that is probably what a lot of people wanted, was just this stuff to be as close to what was on the albums as possible. But if that is the case, then they should just have taken what was on the original albums and just animated to that. But they didn't. So now we have an aging Cheech and Chong trying to reenact what they had done years and years ago. And it really kind of suffers. It's not that good. The acting here would probably have been a hell of a lot better if Cheech and Chong were about 20 years younger. Unfortunately, this is 2013, and neither of them have really aged all that well. So, unfortunately, the whole thing just suffers. And at times, I'm going to tell you this right now, at times it really doesn't even sound like it is Tommy Chong saying these lines. So I almost have a suspicion that they probably got in a, Tommy Chong sound-alike to fill in for maybe about like a dozen lines. It's very, very few, but some of them just do not sound right, and it just sort of throws you right off. Animation. I can tell you right now, guys, this whole thing was animated in Flash, alright? Poorly animated in Flash. You could go on to Newgrounds.com right now. You could probably click on a dozen random Flash tunes over there. I guarantee you almost all of them would have better animation than this fucking thing, okay? This thing is some of the cheapest animation I have ever seen. The very fact that this thing came out in 2013 and was expected to be taken seriously on any level is kind of sad. Now, yes, I understand that they were probably just trying to cater to stoners, and stoners are not going to give a shit. As long as it's bright, it's colorful, and it moves, stoners are going to be totally happy, and it hits all of that perfectly. However, if you're not a stoner and you want something good, your best bet is to avoid this and just go buy the old Cheech and Chong albums. You'll be a lot happier with that. Now, also when talking about animation, I want to talk about the character design. Because, see, we have a ton of different sketches with multiple characters. So, to me, I guess it would have made a bit more sense if there was a little bit more care in creating whole new looking characters for every single sketch. And we do get that with a couple. But for most of them, it always defaults back to how Cheech and Chong look on the cover here. And that's it. The only other time that they have to work on characters is when there's extra characters beyond two in any of the sketches. Or and this right here is a big one, is they actually take like three of them. They actually take like three of these sketches, and they basically will string all of them together, and they do have a small framing device where it's Cheech and Chong sitting on the couch watching TV. So they had to create all new characters for what's seen on the television, and just basically cut back to the couch as if this were a poorly animated episode of Beavis and Butthead. All right, now I really would like to say that. Sound mix. Yeah, I should talk about sound mix on two separate occasions. Specifically in, let's see, it was in the Sister Mary Elephant sketch and in the Tortured Old Man sketch. The mics give off distorted sound. Probably because, and in one case it's Cheech and in the other case it's Chong, they were too close to the mic and screaming. Guess what, guys? This right here is just sort of this is just sort of like a sound mix tip. It really should have been the job of the sound engineer to make fucking certain that those bits sounded as good as everything else. Otherwise, it really cheapens your product. I totally understand it would be very difficult to ask fucking Cheech to go and scream out, "Shut up," 6 goddamn times, because shit, it's serious. It was funny as hell the first time. Yeah, that sketch was not that funny. But the fact that we have varying levels of distortion each time tells us that the sound engineer did not care. Or they were only willing to do a single take, and that was the best they had. But that to me just is a huge sign of cheapness in terms of your sound mix. Music. Well, music, there is very, very little music. There is one song, and it is one of the more famous songs by Cheech and Chong, which is in there. And it's awesome, alright? That is still a fantastic song, no matter how many times I hear it. And it's probably the only good segment of the movie is when we get to hear Cheech and Chong perform "Earache My Eye." That's it. That is totally the only good sketch in this entire fucking thing, and it's the second to last sketch. Oh man, it really, guys, is just a fucking shame. I really wanted this movie to be good. Why? Because what I've heard from Cheech and Chong have been amazing. Well, except for one of their fucking movies that was absolutely unfucking watchable. But I loved everything else I've seen, including most of fucking Nice Dreams, even though the movie itself, all in all, is average. So I was kind of expecting something awesome here, and instead we get something that is just not that good. And if you guys want to know how this thing could have been done right, Comedy Central a couple of years ago had a show that had this very same gimmick of taking somebody's stand-up act and animating it. The show was called Shorty's Watching Shorties, and I actually got to re-watch it all on Netflix about 6 or 7 months back, so it might still be on Netflix, where they basically would take like stand-up bits from shittier comics like fucking Dane Cook and Dimitri Martin, and then better actually talented comedians like, well, say like Dennis Leary and a couple others, and they would just take and they would take the stuff directly from their stand-up albums or directly from their Comedy Central specials, and they would animate them in Flash. First of all, the animation was better, the comedy was better because it was taken directly off of the albums. This thing here fails because it has none of that. It has very poorly reenacted versions of classic bits, and it's animated in an incredibly poor fashion. So when all is said and done, can I recommend Cheech and Chong's animated movie? Fuck no, I cannot. If you seriously want to know what the hell is on this, go out and download all of Cheech and Chong's albums. You can probably get them all on iTunes, or you can get them all on Amazon. Download them all, listen to them all, love them all, because, well, correction, maybe not fucking like love them all, because there actually were a couple of sketches in here that would have fucking sucked no matter how they cut it. And you might have something here. You might have something there if you were to get the albums. This thing here is a fucking disaster, and I'm wondering exactly why Cheech and Chong would have signed off on this. I really have a feeling that they either lost a bet, or they were finding a way to make some really fast cash. Plus side is that they didn't get a cent from me, because I bought this thing used for $2. That really should have told me everything I needed to know right there. But yeah, this movie is a piece of garbage, and I'm actually kind of ashamed that I wasted the $2 on it. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go watch Up in Smoke. Why? Because I want to remember when Cheech and Chong were actually funny. So yes, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.